History has no mercy for the man who chooses wrong. It writes no elegies for his suffering, no monuments for his intentions, just silence and a slow, quiet erosion of everything he could have been. Not because he was evil, not because he was weak, but because he mistook softness for peace and never saw the match in her hand until his life was already on fire. Most men don't fall by sword or storm. They fall by choice. A beautiful one, a seductive one that smiled sweetly and whispered, "I love you," while slowly, deliberately draining the fire from their soul. No one warns you, not your mother. Her love is blind, not your friends. They're just as lost. And society? It feeds on your downfall, profits from your delusions, sells you romance and calls it destiny. But Machiavelli, he knew. He didn't write for dreamers. He wrote for rulers, for men who understood that the gates of their life are sacred and that every choice is a war. Every woman, a potential ally or assassin. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, he wrote. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you truly are. And so it is with her. The undiscerning man sees makeup, curves, and charm. The wise man? He studies her silence, her discipline, the way she moves when no one's watching, the choices she makes when there's no praise to win. He watches not her performance, but her patterns. There are only two kinds of women in this world: beneficial or destructive. Not maybe, not she's working on herself, not it's complicated. She either multiplies your life or drains it. No neutral ground, no middle kingdom. And the darkest truth? Most destructive women have mastered the art of appearing beneficial. They smile while they sabotage. They praise your ambition while pulling you off course. And if you are not sovereign, if you have not tamed your own hunger for beauty, affection, validation, you will call it love, while dying by inches under its weight. This isn't hate, it's strategy. Because a man who isn't cold-eyed in his selection will call betrayal romance, will call manipulation compromise, will call collapse commitment, until there's nothing left to call at all. Machiavelli warned us, he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who allows himself to be deceived. And the man who chooses based on appearance alone, who crowns lust and calls it loyalty, he has already signed his surrender. The ink just hasn't dried yet. The greatest threat is never the woman. It is your blindness to what she is. Beauty blinds the undisciplined. A world that trains men to worship surface and ignore substance is a world that manufactures weak kings, built on sand, not stone. Machiavelli didn't write for romantics. He wrote for rulers, and a ruler guards the gates. He doesn't let emotion wear the mask of opportunity. He doesn't mistake chaos for passion or drama for depth. A destructive woman doesn't need to scream. She just needs to distract you from your path, your purpose, your principles. She'll erode your fire by asking you to explain it. She'll water down your edge by calling it too much. And before you know it, you've traded your throne for her comfort. A wise man sees it for what it is, an emotional weapon wrapped in mascara and soft kisses. So when he looks at a woman, he does not ask, "Is she beautiful?" He asks, "Can she stand beside my vision without trying to control it?" Because that's the test. And the tragedy is, most men never ask the question until everything they built is already gone. She doesn't come with thunder. She doesn't arrive cloaked in chaos. No, she walks in like the answer to every ache you never knew how to name. The way she looks at you, as if you're a god, she's waited her whole life to worship. But it's a trap, a beautiful one, engineered in the dark corners of her own unmet needs, her own buried hunger, her unhealed wounds masquerading as devotion. And you, hungry for respect, for peace, for softness in a world that only offers war, you fall, not in love, but into dependency, into a fantasy sculpted from your own emotional starvation. She starts by studying you, not to understand you, but to mirror you, to become exactly what your broken parts crave. A shapeshifter, a reflection, not a woman, but a strategy. She gives affection, but only to bind you. She praises your masculinity until it threatens her illusion of control. Then she cuts it down, subtly, with sarcasm disguised as jokes, with questions that twist your clarity into confusion, with emotional fog that makes you apologize for your own intensity. You've changed, she says, and you believe her. You start to shrink, not because she demands it, but because you think you have to keep the peace, to keep her, to keep love alive. But it isn't love. It's a slow assassination of your mission, your fire, your truth. The wrong woman doesn't destroy you all at once. She just keeps you distracted long enough for you to destroy yourself. You start showing up late to your own purpose. You start saying yes when your soul screams no. You start bending and bending and bending, until one day you snap. And even then she'll make it feel like your fault. She'll cry. She'll blame her past. She'll tell you she just needs reassurance. And because you're a man, a builder, a protector, you'll give it. Over and over. Until you're pouring into a cup that has no bottom. Machiavelli warned of this too. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Which means, by the time most men wake up, they've already handed her the keys to the kingdom and burned the map back to themselves. But if you watch closely, you can see the signs before the collapse. It's in how she handles boundaries, how she reacts to your discipline, how she responds when you say no. A good woman is drawn to your structure. A destructive woman is offended by it. Because structure limits chaos, and chaos is where she reigns. She doesn't want partnership. She wants possession. She wants you soft enough to manipulate, strong enough to protect her, but never so strong that she can't control the narrative. And this is where most men fail. They confuse emotional intensity for depth. They think the storm is love. They think the fire is passion. But in truth, it's a test. A wise man doesn't marry chaos because it feels exciting. He recognizes it for what it is, an anchor dressed like wings. You have to look beyond how she touches you, how she moans your name, how she makes you feel like a king, because none of that matters if she cannot stand beside your throne without secretly plotting to melt it down. If a woman cannot celebrate your mission without needing to be the mission, she's already planning your funeral. Not literally, but spiritually, psychologically. She doesn't want to follow you. She wants to wear your skin, to take your strength, your clarity, your certainty, and use it to build a world where you're no longer needed. You must not let her. You must know your worth so deeply that even the most intoxicating woman cannot seduce you away from your throne. Because the truth is brutal, but it will set you free. You are not meant to save her. You are not meant to fix her. You are not her therapist, her father, or her emotional rehab. You are a man, and your life is a kingdom. Protect it at all costs. She doesn't enter your life to rescue you. She doesn't arrive with fireworks or a flood of praise. She arrives in silence, like dawn, subtle, steady, certain. She does not chase you. She does not beg for your time, your energy, your attention, because she already has her own kingdom. And she doesn't need yours to feel complete. But she sees you, not just the warrior, not just the builder, not just the provider. She sees the sacred burden beneath your armor. She sees the man behind the mission. and she doesn't flinch. Where the wrong woman competes with your purpose, this woman aligns with it. Where the wrong woman needs you to dim your light, this one fans your flames. Not blindly, but with discernment, with intention. She doesn't worship you, she respects you. And that's rarer, more dangerous, more essential. Because respect sharpens a man. It calls him to rise, to stay clean in a dirty world, to remain disciplined when ease calls his name. And when the world tries to drag him down, she becomes gravity in reverse, pulling him up. A man becomes twice as dangerous when the right woman believes in him. She doesn't waste time in drama. She's too focused, too calibrated. She speaks in calm truths, not emotional traps. And her silence isn't punishment. It's space for you to lead, to think, to grow. She doesn't test your masculinity. She anchors it. She doesn't try to break you open. She waits patiently until you choose to let her in. And when you do, she doesn't weaponize your wounds. She doesn't fear your darkness. She walks into it with her own light. She holds you accountable, not because she wants to control you, but because she refuses to watch you betray yourself. She wants your success, not for the lifestyle, but for the legacy. She's not building castles in her head. She's building foundations, brick by brick, with you, for the future. You'll know her by the peace she brings, not the kind that puts you to sleep, but the kind that sharpens your awareness. She makes you present, makes you awake, because with her, there is no game. There is only clarity. She doesn't need to be the center of your world. She just wants to walk beside you as you build it. And that's how you'll know. Not by how loud she loves you, but by how fiercely she stands with you when the world gets quiet. The right woman doesn't complete you. She challenges you. She calms you. She clarifies you. And in doing so, she crowns you. But here's the twist. You won't attract her if you're still at war with yourself. You won't even recognize her if you're addicted to chaos. If you crave intensity over intimacy, if you mistake drama for depth, you'll call her boring. You'll say, there's no spark. But the truth is, she just doesn't cater to your wounds. She speaks to your highest self, and if that self is buried under pain, you won't be able to hear her. That's why the right woman is not just a gift. She's a mirror. She reveals your potential, but only if you're ready to see it. So the question becomes, can you stand beside a woman who doesn't need saving? Can you handle the weight of being truly seen? Can you rise, not because she pushes, but because she believes? Because here's the secret. You don't lead her by overpowering her. You lead her by mastering yourself, by becoming a man worthy of trust, of respect, of devotion. Not obedience, but loyalty freely given. Because she chooses you every day, not out of fear, but out of alignment. And in that quiet, unshakable bond, empires are born. There is a silence more powerful than rage, a stillness stronger than war. And a man who masters both becomes unbreakable, not because life gets easier, not because women become safer, but because he becomes sovereign. You cannot control who walks into your life, but you can control who you become when they do. And that changes everything. The weak man blames. He points at the betrayal, the heartbreak, the injustice, and makes it his identity. He builds shrines to his wounds, memorials to his pain, and calls it truth. But the strong man alchemizes. He takes the betrayal and forges discipline. He takes the heartbreak and learns discernment. He takes the chaos and builds order. He does not seek revenge. He seeks evolution. The greatest revenge is becoming a man no one can manipulate, not because you're cold, but because you're clear, not because you shut down, but because you understand. You've seen the darkness, in them, in yourself, and now you navigate life with precision. You no longer chase beauty, you seek peace. You no longer crave attention, you crave alignment. You no longer need to prove yourself because you know yourself. And from that self-possession, you become dangerous, not in a loud, boastful way, but in the way a lion is dangerous, calm, present, decisive. You don't argue, you exit, you don't beg, you observe, you don't force, you flow. But behind the flow, there is a fortress, and that fortress is built on the discipline of a man who faced his own reflection and didn't look away. If you want to attract a powerful woman, you must first conquer your inner boy. The boy wants validation. The boy wants to be loved without earning it. The boy gets attached to appearances, falls for promises, and loses himself in pleasure. But the man waits. He watches. He tests. Not out of insecurity, but out of wisdom. Because he knows the wrong woman can derail your purpose, but the right one will demand it. Not with her words, but with her presence. She will not tolerate your mediocrity. She will not worship your potential. She will mirror your reality. And in doing so, she will either ignite your greatness or expose your weakness. And when that happens, don't run, don't hide, don't blame her. Thank her. Because in her mirror, you see who you really are. And from that truth, you can begin the real work. The work of building yourself. Not for women, not for approval, but because you are done living beneath your calling. You no longer fear solitude. Because you no longer fear yourself. You no longer need constant attention. Because you have focus. You no longer crave power over others. Because you have power over your mind. And that is what makes a man untouchable. A man who is anchored in purpose, disciplined in habits, and ruthless with his standards, will never beg for loyalty, because loyalty comes to those who command it through character, not manipulation, through presence, not performance. So when you become this man, this calm, powerful, grounded force, you will not fear losing a woman, because you will know you never lose what is aligned. You only lose what was never meant to stay. And that is not a tragedy. That is refinement. Let her go. Let her betray. Let her mock. Let her run. And bless her departure. Because in that burning bridge, you find your freedom. And freedom, real freedom, is the foundation of masculine power. So the next time you look in the mirror, ask yourself, are you building yourself in the image of truth or in reaction to pain? Because pain will give you the excuse, but truth will give you the throne. There comes a time in every man's life where he must choose, will I live by accident or will I rise by design? Because the truth is this, no one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not some perfect woman with a tender heart and healing hands. No one. And that is not a curse. That is your initiation. You were not born to be rescued. You were born to build, to craft yourself from the ashes of failure, to rise from betrayal, to stand tall in the ruins of everything you once thought was love. This is where men are made. Not in soft beds with whispered promises, but in silence, in solitude, in sweat, in sacrifice. The world does not reward men who wait. It rewards men who move. Move through the pain. Move through the confusion. Move through the voices in your head telling you you're not enough. Because those voices, they are liars, echoes of the boy who once begged to be chosen. But you are no longer that boy. You are the architect now. the builder, the commander. And from this point forward, every choice you make is either a step toward your kingdom or a surrender to your past. Let that burn. Because this is what no one tells you. The wrong woman will cost you years. She will drain your energy, distract your vision, disorient your identity. But she is not the real enemy. Your blindness is, your lack of standards, your hunger to be loved without boundaries, your addiction to fantasy. That is what makes you vulnerable. That is what opens the gates to manipulation. But the moment you awaken, the moment you see, everything changes. You no longer chase love. You command respect. You no longer seek softness. You seek strength. You no longer want someone to complete you. You want someone who can stand beside you. But first, you must become the man worthy of standing alone. Before you lead others, you must learn to lead yourself. That means mastering your mornings, dominating your discipline, guarding your attention like a king guards his crown. It means speaking less, observing more, moving with intention, and living with fire. Because when you walk like a man who knows who he is, the world adjusts. Women notice, opportunities appear, weak men grow silent, and powerful men offer you their respect. This is not magic. It's not manifestation. It's simply the law of reality. A man in alignment bends the world around him. And when a woman enters your life, she will feel that alignment. She will test it, not because she's cruel, but because she must know if you are who you claim to be. She will poke the places where you're unsure. She will press on your silence, your purpose, your values. And in that moment, you will either collapse or you will confirm your sovereignty. This is why the work is done before she arrives. The iron must be hot before the strike. Your vision must be clear before the temptation. Your core must be forged before the chaos. Because love is not for the untested, it is for the chosen. And the chosen are not picked by luck. They are earned by fire. So here is the final charge. Stop asking if she's the right one. Start asking, am I the man who can lead, protect, and walk away if needed? Because when you become that man, you'll never beg for love. You'll never cling to chaos. You'll never betray your mission for comfort. You'll rise. And in your rising, you'll attract a woman who respects the throne. Because she knows what it cost you to build it. Let the world call you cold. Let them say you're too intense, too direct, too masculine, too much. Good. That means you're doing it right. Because in a world full of noise, you have chosen clarity. In a culture of softness, you have chosen strength. In a society of followers, you have chosen to lead. So rise. Not with apology, not with hesitation, but with fire in your eyes and war in your chest. This is the code. This is the path. This is the way of men who will not be broken. And now that you know, there are no more excuses. If this message cut through the noise, if you felt something ancient stir in your chest, then don't just click away. Subscribe to Socrates. This isn't entertainment. It's not motivation. It's a mirror, a sword, a map for men who refuse to sleepwalk through life. Share this with a brother who's forgetting himself. Remind him of the cost of choosing wrong, of loving blind, of living soft. You were not made to be tame. You were not made to be used. You were made to see clearly, to choose wisely, to rise ruthlessly. This is Socrates, and we don't play nice with illusions.